back to my channel. So today I am going to be doing a step-by-step tutorial on how to make fans using the pinching method. For lashes, I am going to be using the Veya's cashmere trays in 0.05 D curl, and the size that I'm using is 16 mm. If you guys have not tried these lashes, I would definitely recommend ordering some, but just make sure you are ordering them from the Veya's website, because I heard that the ones on Amazon are a different quality, and I don't know, girls never like the Amazon ones, so make sure you are ordering from the website. And if you do decide to place an order, I do have a discount code with them. It is LC10, and you will save 10% off on your order. Usually before I start to pinch, I do like to brush out the strip, because for some lash tray brands, I feel like the lashes are still stuck together. So if you brush them out with a spoolie, it allows them to fan out easier once you start to pinch them. And then for glue, I am going to be using the extra strong adhesive from Veya's. For my glue ring, I do like to add 2 drops of glue. I feel like anything more than that is way too much, because you don't want your glue to be spilling out of your ring and even getting on your client. Okay, so let's go ahead and start pinching. One of the most important things whenever you are making fans is the supplies that you're using, because if you are not using good lashes or good tweezers, it is going to make it way harder for you to learn. I remember when I was a beginner, I was using a lot of tweezers and lash trays from Amazon, and later on I did figure out that it was the lash trays that were the problem. Like, it was making it harder for me to learn. Once I did switch to better quality lash supplies, I feel like it was way easier for me to get the pinching technique down. Okay, so whenever I pinch, I do like to pick up more in the middle. And then once you are pulling off, you want to make sure you're just pulling straight. You're kind of flicking your tweezer up. That way your base is all put together. This is what a perfect pull looks like. All your hairs should be even at the bottom. You should not have any loose hairs sticking out, or have any hairs that are longer or that are shorter than each other. Otherwise, your fan is not going to be even. And whenever you do have hair sticking out and you go to place that fan on a client, the hairs that are sticking out are going to be poking their eyelids. And a lot of times, the hair sticking out is what causes the client's eyes to itch. So for pinching, I personally prefer to pinch this way. I know a lot of girls do the pinching method this way, but I feel like it's harder for me just because my nails are long, so I do it this way. And then whenever you pinch, I feel like I do pinch slow. So I would say to take your time pinching slow, and as you're pinching, slowly release the pressure on your tweezers. But for the pressure on your tweezers, you only want to release a little bit. If you release too much, then all the hairs are going to go everywhere. And then whenever you dip in glue, you should just be dipping in 1 to 2 mms of glue. And I will swipe a few times to wipe off any excess glue, and to make sure my base is as thin and snatched as I want it. So this is what you should want your fans to look like. You should not have any hairs sticking out, and your hair should be evenly spread out. Another important thing when it comes to making fans is making sure that you do have a super snatched base. I feel like whenever you have a snatched base, it is way easier for you to apply the fan to the natural lash. If you have a base that's super thick and bulky, it is not going to apply as easy, and that base can be uncomfortable for your clients. So from the front, we do have a wide fan with the snatched base, and then once you turn to the side, you do want to make sure that you are keeping the thin base. Your fan could look good from the front, but then once you turn it to the side, it can be super thick and bulky, which is what you don't want. I am going to zoom in a little bit more, that way you guys can see. Another important thing when it comes to picking up off the strip is making sure that you are picking up at the sweet spot of your tweezer. I feel like every sweet spot is different for every tweezer that you do use. The only way to find it is to practice. So to me, the sweet spot is where your tweezers close completely and have the absolute best grip. So for my tweezer, I feel like my sweet spot is here in the middle. if I were to pick up somewhere else on the tweezer, my hairs would go everywhere. Okay, I'm going to try to pick up where my sweet spot isn't at. Do you guys see that? So if you're not picking up at your sweet spot, your hairs are going to move. So now let's try picking up at our sweet spot. Look at that. Once you're picking up at your sweet spot, you will get a perfect pull every time. Another thing that helps with your pulling off the strip is making sure that you're taking your time. If you're there trying to rush your fans and trying to work fast, you are going to be messing up and your fans aren't going to be coming out as you want them to. So let's go ahead and pinch again. And whenever I do pinch, I do not twist my fingers. I just like to pinch them and keep my fingers like in the same position. So then we're going to release our pressure a little bit. Sometimes I will pinch a few times just to get my hairs evenly spread out. And then dipping in glue. And for glue, you should be dipping in just 1 to 2 mm's. Here's our fan. And then from the side, it is thin. Like I said earlier, the supplies that you use are super important, especially when it comes to learning the pinching method. If I were to use different pairs of tweezers, they wouldn't fan out the same. So I'm going to go ahead and try a different pair of tweezers just to show you guys. So this is more of a thicker boot tweezer. For tweezers too, you just have to test out different pairs and find what works best for you. For tweezers, there are so many different angles, degree tweezers that are thin and super thick boot tweezers. So you kind of just have to find what you prefer as a lash tech and what's comfortable for your hand. Because whenever you are doing a set, you are holding your tweezers in your hand for hours. So after a while, they can get uncomfortable and they can even cause your hand to hurt. So with the other tweezers I use, I'm able to fan out perfectly. But now we're going to try these ones. Okay, did you guys see that? A lot of times it won't be you that's the problem. It's the tweezers that you're using. Let's go ahead and try a different pull. Okay, see, that one was a little bit better. But I feel like they just don't fan out good with this tweezer. This is why I don't use this tweezer. So on Instagram, I did go ahead and ask you guys what part you struggle with the most whenever it comes to pinching. So I am going to be answering a few of those questions while I make fans. If you guys do not follow me on Instagram, make sure to go and follow me because that is where I'm putting any questions that I have for my YouTube channel. That way you guys can be involved. The first question is, why do I get glue on my tweezers? So I feel like you get glue on your tweezers if you're dipping in too much glue. Dipping in too much glue and not holding your tweezer high enough. So like I said earlier, you should only be dipping in 1 to 2 mm's of glue. As far as holding your tweezer higher, this is what I mean. So as you can see, my base is longer because my tweezer is up higher. And it is like in the middle of the fan. So then once you go to pinch, you still have a lot of space left. Another reason why I feel like that happens is because once you're dipping in glue, your glue rises up. Like you might be dipping in 1 to 2 mm's, but then after that, it does rise up a little bit more. So if you are holding your fan lower, it is going to rise up and touch your tweezers. That kind of goes hand in hand with the next question, which was, why do my fans close after dipping in glue? So if you are dipping in too much glue, like I said, the glue does rise up. So once it rises up, it will cause your fan to close. I did switch to colored lashes just so I can show you guys how the glue rises up. Before, I didn't believe it until I saw it on colored lashes, because whenever you look at it on black lashes, you can't really tell because the glue that you're using is black and then the lashes are black. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a fan. And then once you dip, you will see the glue rise. Do you guys see how it rises? Let me do one with a spike. So we do have our spike. And then once we dip in glue, make sure you pay attention to the amount we're dipping in and then what it goes up to afterwards. So just 1 to 2 mm's. And look at how much it rises up. The next question is, how do I get consistent fans? In order to get your fans looking the same every time, the most important thing is making sure that you're pulling off the same amount each time. Otherwise, your lashes are going to look different. And then some fans are going to be bigger than the others. I feel like whenever that happens, some sections of your sets are going to be darker than the others. That's why it's so important to get consistent fans to make sure that your set has the same fullness throughout. A good way to practice, and what I feel like helped me the most with getting my fans to be consistent, is practicing on a makeup sponge. If you guys do follow me on live, then you do know that I do like to use these practice heart sponges just to practice my fans. This is another thing that helped me get faster at lashing. As a beginner, I feel like making my fans is what made me take so long. When I would be there with my client, it would take me like 20 tries to make one perfect fan. So making sure that you're practicing and perfecting your fans is key, especially to getting faster at lashing. The next question that you guys asked is, how do you get skinny and snatched bases? For the most part, I feel like getting snatched bases does depend on how you're pinching, but where you are picking up on the strip is also super important. So if I were to pick up lower, my base would be thicker and it wouldn't be as snatched as it would be if I picked up higher on the strip. So let's go ahead and pick up lower. See, you don't have that much space to pinch. So your base does come out shorter and a little thicker. Another important thing to remember whenever it comes to the pinching method is that it is not something you're going to get right away. The pinching method is a technique that takes a lot of practice to master. So if you're not able to pinch right away or right after your course, do not get discouraged, girl. You just have to practice. And whenever I say practice, I actually mean sitting there for hours every day practicing. Because if you're just practicing for 10 minutes and then giving up because you can't do it, you're never going to get a hang of it. Okay, so the next question is, how do you know how many hairs to pull off? So whenever it does come to pulling off the strip, I feel like it's impossible to be there counting. You just have to eyeball it and try to get the same amount each time. You should pull off based off your client's natural lashes and the set that you are doing. For example, if your client wants a light volume set and she has a ton of natural lashes, I would recommend picking up less hairs. That way your set doesn't turn into a volume or a mega set. And if your client has a little bit of natural lashes to work with and she wants more of a volume and a more dramatic set, I would recommend using more hairs for your fans. That way she has more coverage. Let's go ahead and do one more, and that is going to be the end of the video. So once we get ready to pinch, just remember to release a little bit of pressure. And then dip in 1 to 2 mm's of glue. And then there you go. You have your perfect fan. Okay, so that is it for the video, girlies. Hopefully this does help you guys. If you guys need additional help, feel free to ask any questions in the comments. That way I can get back to you guys, or you can also DM me on Instagram. My lash page is Lashxculture. For the next video, I am going to be doing a lash Q&A, so if you guys have any questions you want me to answer, make sure you are leaving them down below in the comments. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye, Miss Girls.